autumnal holiday. Travel log, day 1, captain's log. I've had loads of them today. Had a bit of a chicken chow mein last night, sweet and sour chicken balls, sat a bit heavy. One of them where you've ate a bit too much, you think for the next 2 or 3 hours you're going to wonk up, which I don't like doing. It's a waste of food. I mean, we rent food as it is, you know, you want to try and lengthen your rental period. Anyway, I've just gone through the village of Treddington on my way to Shipston-on-Stour because I'm off down to the Oxford-Leicestershire mansion, and then tomorrow we're off to the lodge. Yes, this is what it calls, you know, the lodge. Basically a brand new wooden cabin, air conditioning, all that bollocks, for a little break. Yes, so technically this is travelogue day 1, even though it isn't, and it's raining. It's yes, I got down as far as about Shipston-on-Stour, and it's been quite warm at home and really close and muggy, and it's dropped about 3 degrees coming down so far, and we're now following some in a Ford Focus that's doing 40 in a national. I've had a few of them already down the Foss. I've had this rant, and if that wasn't to top it off, also followed a Toyota RAV4, which if it broke 40, I think he thought it was going to fall apart. So he was interesting, and he braked for every single side entrance, whether it be a farm drive, a private drive, an actual turning, and ended up going down for Cubbington. But I think he tried to go down 20 turns before. So yes, that was interesting. The left-hand indicator on Rosie decided not to work, and then now works again. Anybody think there was some Jaguar build quality going on in there? Which is, you know, it's not too far from the truth. When this was built, I do believe Jaguar, Land Rover, all that lot were all under BMW ownership. So yes, I can remember my XJ6 had foibles like that. You gain it one day, the immobiliser, new word, registering it, the immobiliser wouldn't cut off, so you wouldn't be able to start the car. So you'd shut the door again, lock it, unlock it with the key, it'd work again. You'd get up in the morning, the sunroof would be open. You know, one feature I did really like of the Jag though, and you see it all over TikTok at the minute going, oh my god, every car should have this feature, I bet you know your car wouldn't do this, and all the other shite that's on TikTok. You know, the girl's not even getting the tits out and getting £1 million. I'm not jealous. I'm quite happy to get my breasts out if somebody wants to give me £1 million. My lovely man boobs. But it's like people unlocking the car, and if you hold the unlock on the key fob, the Rover doesn't do it, but my Jag definitely did. Because if you hold the unlock, it opens the sunroof and lowers all the windows, and if you hold lock, it closes everything. And it is quite a nice feature when you've got it. But yes, so we're on our way. So I'm in Shipston-on-Stour at the minute, which is exactly halfway between my house and the Oxford-Leicestershire mansion. Oh, doggy! Oh, you're a fat little boy, aren't you? Yes. Getting wet. She had a wet schnauzer. But yes, that'll do for now then. Obviously more to come, but I'm not going to film too much because it's not fair on the rest of them. But I should just do some wee snippets, and yes, we'll obviously post this when we're back. Nice. Hello folks, yes, as you can see now, back from holiday, and Good news, everybody. O-ring has arrived. So has the gasket. Yes. Little otter pup's been driving the rover. Oil lines for the ZZR 11 are here, and as you can see, if you compare them to a ZX10 line, that's the main difference. Is this line literally goes across the top of the cooler and then comes around, instead of the original ZX line just literally coming down. So they're the oil cooler lines, and this is the ZZR 1100 sump. And that was flatulence. At the minute I'm just giving it a little scrapey to get as much of the old gasket off as I can. But I have noticed silicon all around there, silicon. And that to me rings alarm bells, because the idea of a gasket is that you don't need silicon, or in the sake of a clutch cover or something like that, you need it in a couple of little spots where the engine cases join. So I'm going to have a look at the Kawasaki manual, the official one, just to see if they say put a thin line of silicon in these areas. My sump doesn't have it. There's no silicon at all on it. There was just thread lock on a couple of the bolts, probably 4 of the bolts I think. So either somebody's had a sump off and they've reused the old gasket, which sort of makes sense, and they've decided to just dob on a bit of silicon. Some people dob on silicon like the turn on a tap. They put it on everything regardless of whether it's a new gasket or not, as a kind of insurance policy. But sometimes, in fact a lot of the time, if you put silicon on with a new gasket, it will leak, because the gasket's not being able to do its job, because the silicon's trying to do it as well. So 9 times out of 10, don't use silicon with a new gasket unless it says in the manual to put it in certain areas. But rant over. You can see here also, that hole down there is the lower drain plug on the sump, and this one up here is the upper. I think I've got that the right way around. And then all these other ones is where like your oil lines connect to at the front there. And the oil pressure switch, I think, on a ZZR goes in that one. I'm not sure, I'll have to have a look. So yeah, it's here, the gasket's here. I've got to scrape the old gasket from underneath my engine and then clean everything up and give it a go. Uncle Steve is offered to have this blacked, but they should be silver. So I don't know where to go on that one. Also, this is where the gauze strainer went, and the screws are notoriously tight. They are on mine, and I'm going to have to get the sump in the vise to give them a good. And it looks like somebody's had a bit of an issue with that. Now I don't know whether to try and get like a punch and hammer and try and get that out. In theory, that thread should just spin out. It sits in oil all its life, it doesn't get a chance to corrode, so it should come out well enough. So we'll just have to see. Anything other than that? No news really. The rover performed faultlessly on holiday again. We did, let's see, 450, knocking on probably 650 miles, no issues at all. So that's good. So yeah, everything's here, it's just got to be fitted. So now the exhaust, now we can relocate the oil pressure switch. Should be okay. Somebody did mention, oh, I'll just shorten the downpipes. If you shorten the downpipes, the collector isn't going to clear the sump at all. It sits right next to this bit. I mean, literally the exhaust comes around to give you access to the filter. I mean, that's the front of the bike. Where's it going? the exhaust is here, so shortening the downpipes isn't going to make a difference. Not going to make any difference at all. And if it was as easy as shortening downpipes, we'd all be doing it. But hey ho, we'll see. So yes, they're the oil line, so we'll leave it there for now. See, somebody's done a piss poor job of rattle canning it silver. In fact, it's so poor. Anybody think I'd done it? Yes. I do have some engine enamel black, and I've done the radiator, the oil cooler, one side of one of the water pipes, and I'm going to take one of the other water pipes off and do that as well. Yes. Put a bit of paint on the radiator. I've got my mad uncle next door singing. Painted the oil cooler, painted the water line, and I'm just degreasing the ZX10 sump because I need the gauze out of it. I need the oil pressure switch, and I need a couple of bits out of it. Right, into the shed. Here is the ZZR sump, and one thing I notice straight off is there's an extra outlet for the oil hoses. The oil hose on the ZX I think is at the bottom, and on here they've moved it to the front. Excuse me. And there's a check valve there. There was no strainer with this, and it looks like I've got to get a bolt out, which shouldn't be a problem. Rest of it's pretty clean. Little bit of silicone here and there, so I'm thinking this has been off in the bike's life and they've reused the old gasket, because that's the only way you would want to put silicone on. I'm going to have a look at the Kawasaki manual, service manual, and just to check to see if they want you to put a little bead of silicone on, because usually if you've got gasket, you don't need silicone. Right, this is the strainer from the ZX10. As you can see, we have the remains of an O-ring, but if you look, I don't know if the camera's actually picking it up. Let's have a look. I'll move it around. But there's a couple of sparklies in there, which usually is panic stations, because it could mean a spun bearing, or you've caught the skirt of a piston, or whatever. But the good news is the strainer fits like that on a ZX10. It's extremely high up in the sump, basically. This is obviously the lower half of the sump, and then you've got another bit, and then you've got your engine, basically. So the first drain plug is magic pointing device down there, and you can see how it's channeled. The second drain plug is here, and it's important that you use both drain plugs, because when you crack that second drain plug, you can get another half a litre out. I was quite surprised how much came out, because usually I only use the one. I think when it's the lowest one it will do it, but no, use both on a ZX and a Z-Star. Use both drain plugs. But the thing is, that's the first time that sump's come off that bike. I'm fairly confident in that. And of course, the stuff caught in this gauze doesn't get cleaned out until this sump pan comes off and you take the gauze off. Everything that it traps pretty much stays in there. That's the idea of it. So that could just be swarf from the bike's original running in. I'm going to put the bike on the side stand. I'm going to get a torch up in the engine, and I'm going to have a quick look for any signs of anything, but I think that's just running in metal, which I've seen before. So we're all right. So that's what we're cracking on with today. I don't think I'll be fitting the sump today, because we've got to swap over some stuff. I've got to work out the plumbing for the 1100 lines, which are there, and I want to give these wire brush and a coat of paint, but some engine enamel. I might get some paint stripper on this, and just do it in some black enamel or something like that, just to match the rest of the engine. I know it should be silver, but I don't care. I've got a new O-ring for the oil filter housing. Oil filter obviously comes up through here. O-ring at the bottom to seal too, and there's an O-ring at the top. There's also there's a check valve that goes in there, or there's a spigot or something. I'll have a look at the other one. So that's what I'm getting on with. So that might do it today, because I won't be fitting the exhaust today. I won't be fitting the sump today, because I want to prepare them properly and only have to fit it once. So that's what I'm cracking on with. So enjoy the rest of your weekend. Ta-da. A little bit of crap on the sump then, and that's what come out the capture bits basically. That is O-ring and not roller bearing, and somebody's put the wrong crush washer on. Great. Brilliant camera work. Now I said my painting was crap. Yeah, it's terrible. It's going to be done again. I only give it a quick black over to see what it looked like really. But that's going to come off. I don't mind black. Can you say black these days? And everybody's fucking offended at everything. I mean, we're even having a man as the queen now. How woke is that? Anyway, better not force that one. The only thing I've got to work out now from the parts diagrams is that's where the oil pressure switch is on the ZX10. That's obviously where it goes, and I'm going to see where it's got to be relocated to, or whether it's a different switch. I can't see another opening on the ZR 1100 sump which takes that fitting other than the original, so we shall see. That's all for now then. Bye bye.